Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Freedom Thinking Community Group. My name's Dave Ellery, and the date is Monday, the 3rd of November. Sorry if I look like, I was saying just as Neil came, I look like I've been stung by a jellyfish or something. I'm bright red. I've just had the hottest bath. I'm starting to cool down a bit now. For me back, I've had a bad back, so I was just baking it. Welcome everybody. Hopefully Jen will be joining me in the not too distant future. She is currently, when I just went downstairs just before this, she was reading stories and Luce looked tired. So she's been up since 5:45 this morning, so I hope to God she is. Yeah, I hope so, because I need a good night's sleep tonight. Yeah, this is a via donation event. Anybody who wishes to make a donation, please have a look in the description below. In there are ways and means. There's a couple of ways and means. Best way for us personally, if you don't mind me saying, is PayPal, friends and family. Yeah, and thank you to everybody who's donated. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who sends us messages. You know, it's lovely when we receive an email, somebody who's like listened to one of our calls and they've been touched and told us what it's done for them. That's beautiful. We love hearing from people we don't have a clue exist and then talking to us about like what's happened for them. And so thank you to people who get in touch, and thank you for people who share our information. Thank you for people who follow us, and thank you lot for being on screen tonight. Special people. Thank you so much. We're on housekeeping stuff.
Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe, comment. Thanks, Danielson. We've also got a retreat coming up next year now. I think it'll be February. That one's going to be in Norfolk, I think. I'll have to wait for the Oracle to come. Everybody's frozen. You're back. So you have to wait for the Oracle to come to tell us a bit more about that. I think they're still looking at finalising locations, but that'll be Norfolk. Looking forward to that. I think that's it. I can't believe another week's gone by. It's insane. It's November now. What's going on? Right. Has anybody got anything they would like to talk about? Has anybody got any subject they would like, any direction they'd like to steer tonight's conversation?
I'll say something which I was thinking about yesterday. How does the three principles fit in with normal choices? So say for example, say someone makes a difficult choice which you don't agree with, and you have a particular opinion on such. Do you think it's within, because me being in the now, I want to say like, what are you doing? Like, you're an idiot. But don't want to be rude. Where would you go with that? What would you say to that?
I don't know. It depends. Well, first of all, the principles don't have an opinion. The principles, they're everything. Their decision making, their indecision. Their action, their inaction. They are a conversation. They are attributes of life, of the livingness of life, mind, consciousness, thought. They're attributes, the facets of a crystal of life. That is a conversation that point directly back inside ourselves to the source and origin of all experience, whether that be indecision, whether that be the idea that you're getting life wrong, or somebody could get life wrong, or you're getting life right, or somebody could get life right. They are the origin of saying something or not saying something. So the principles in and of themselves don't have an opinion on that. They don't have an opinion on anything. They are everything. They are just everything. But I think more in your question, Dan, I feel like that's probably a bit more of a personal question.
Is it more of an ego thing?
Well, it's if you, I think I'll leave it open. You're cold here. Shut window then if you want. Hook in. You've been in cold room, I've been in hot bath. Gen Z. Dan's just asked the question. Dan, ask it again.
I'll minimize it down because I don't think that I don't think that I made it quite clear. So it's so cut long story short, I don't agree with a decision that one of my friends has made, and I don't feel like that I want to support that decision. But at the same time, I feel like that being in the now, I can't, like, I don't know, I have an issue with it, but I don't want to have an issue with it, and I don't know whether if it's my ego that's been like that's like against it, because I don't really I shouldn't really care, to be honest, but it's really affected me in a way of like it's angered me. And
Well, yeah, it is your ego.
yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know whether to just let it go and just let it happen, or
But that's not, the ego isn't really a problem, right? It's how we live. It's thoughts and ideas that flavor our lives, and I feel like one of the beauties of this conversation is it does allow us to question the way we think about things. Once you become aware of you live in a thought created reality, you do get to exercise your gift of free will more and go, yeah, look, and I hear that in you, what you're saying, I'm pissed off about this, but I actually don't want to be. So let's have a conversation around that. Because you are aware that it's not a solid reality that you're experiencing. Yeah, I feel pissed off about it, but it's not permanent. It's not a solid kind of immovable thing. You are aware it's a fluid, flexible thing. But I don't know. I mean, I've said this recently. A couple of my people I know, last 2 times I've been to the crematorium with the lads who've committed suicide. And one of them, a very dear friend of mine. And yeah, they made decisions that I didn't like. Really didn't like it. I still don't like it. But one of the things I had to accept within myself was that that was their decision. And I don't have to like their decision, but I respect it. I respect an individual's right to make a decision for their own life, for how they want to live. And I tell you, there's been plenty of times in my family and my life where my family have chosen things that I certainly would never choose. And it led to an awful lot of conflict at one point. And I learned a lot through it. And one of the things I learned was it's not my place to be in charge of everybody else's life. And people have to be free to make up their own minds to choose the life that they want to live. Now, before I kind of came to that conclusion, I lived with in a certain area of my life, I lived with a lot of kind of conflict. And it took a fair few years for it to calm down. But when I started to see that, people have to live their own lives, they have to be able to live by, have to be able to live the way that they want to live their life. And I got to see how much I think I'm right. How right am I? Do you know what I mean? And I didn't know, I can never foresee the outcome of, or very rarely do you get to foresee the outcome of people's choices. You get to have an idea of what it might look like, from your previous experiences or something like that. But you can never truly know what a choice is going to play out like. It's like you open up a door and you walk through it with a choice. You set off a timeline, but you can never know what's on that path. And sometimes the darkest, roughest paths I've ever taken, the decisions, the hardest decisions, what people would look at my life and go, that was the worst decision. I've had people say it plenty of times, worst decision you could ever make, that. And, you know, not long after I've done what I've done, I'm probably totally agreeing with them, going, this is, what the fuck, what was I doing? What was I thinking? But I don't know. The worst decisions of my life somehow turn out to be my greatest lessons and my greatest gifts, and the things I'm actually the most grateful for, because they've led to the really hard times. And it generally, in the really hard times, is when I've done my most growth, you know, and done my most learning and been humbled the most. So I don't know. I don't know. It's difficult, Dan. I mean, it obviously sounds like somebody you care about deeply.
Yeah, it's I just the thing that I don't wanted to the thing that I didn't want to do is sound preachy. I didn't want to be like, I think that this like I don't. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Years ago, I'd have been like, "What you doing, you idiot?" But like now, I have the sort of I 100% agree with it's like it's their life. They can live it how they want. I'm not like, and I'm not going to fall out with this person because of it. But at the same time, I'm very like it's a very touchy subject with me. What, yeah, I don't know. I think it was just more of like trying to get my head around making the right choice as to do I sit and let it happen, or do I get myself involved, which I don't really want to do either. But I think I think it's a bit different when you care about someone.
Yeah.
Like, in reality, it isn't different, but the difference is that we are invested in whether it goes well or not. And I think that's what I've loved about this understanding, is it's completely neutral. It's and like I know that you're seeing what's playing out in front of you. So you're observing your mind at the moment, and I think it's nice because probably before, like you said, you would have just jumped in. And I think generally, if you can come to a good place about this, you probably will then either find yourself having a conversation or not. I think that's what I've loved. There's no, you haven't got to like give it loads of attention and thought. Like let it fall off your mind and then just see what you feel guided to do. But generally speaking, when we're like in a het up kind of, I can't believe you're doing this, and like that kind of, you get a feel for when you're in your ego, and you get a feel for when you're just like in a more neutral place. And I think in life we have to learn that for ourselves. Like, how does it play out when I have those kind of conversations from this place or that place? But I think, like you were saying, more and more, I think you do allow people to be who they are. Like your mum used to say it to you, "Oh, I've got to 72 years old. I don't need you trying to parent me." Like, and you'd be like, and she's like, "I've managed to get to 72, you know, you're only in your 40s.
Yeah.
Piss off." But it took a long time for you to hear that and be, oh, actually, this is creating friction and disharmony in my life and my relationships, and it's actually putting a wedge between me and somebody I love. If I can keep my mouth shut, we have a more beautiful relationship. And actually, that's ultimately what you want, is to have a beautiful relationship. And
Yeah.
I think just allowing people to be who they are is, we're less invested, and you trust that each person can live their own life, and that what you've found within this understanding, you know, you found something you already have, that person has that within them, and that's what they either listen to or don't listen to. But I guess we kind of make it our responsibility to like help other people make the right choices in their life, or try and avoid, like I know I've done it with my sister in the past, try to help her avoid things that I know are going to be like train wrecks, and they pretty much have always been train wrecks. And sometimes she's got big regrets, but it didn't matter how much I tried at the time, there was no stopping her. She wasn't asking for my opinion, she wasn't asking for advice. So it's not a good time really to then give it to people. And I've learned I have to just love her and trust that her life will unfold. Same with Ishka, my niece. There's been different things that she's chosen to do. I'm like, and different experiences she's gone through. But I'm like, can I just put my opinion to one side and show up and love you? And I think that's been the thing that seems to connect and help people the most when they don't feel judged.
I absolutely, do you know what, Jen? That is exactly the way that I thought about this earlier. Like, I thought to myself, should I just sit back and not judge and just let it unfold? But then I think it was like I don't know if this is a little bit arrogant to say it, but then just an ever so small peak of my awakening self was like, no, fuck this. Like, I'm gonna go and like, you know, yeah. But yeah, what you've just said there absolutely hit it on the head, because that's what I was thinking earlier. I was thinking, like, do I just trust my friend to live the life and just make them aware that I am here regardless? I think and I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. I think.
I mean,
I was just gonna say,
sorry.
because there isn't a rule, like, and that's
No.
a nice thing, and I feel like it's you finding what's right for you in the moment. Because there has been times when I've had like someone came and worked with us who said, if this conversation is not helpful, I'm going to take my own life. I'm like, well, okay, no pressure. And actually, by us sharing and being in conversation and listening, and sometimes showing them giving different perspectives, that completely changed the course of their life. They chose not to take their own life. They've then gone on to have an amazing life. And some of the messages we get were like blown away by this person. And because of that person, he's sent at least 2 or 3 other people up to see us. So like the ripple effects of that. So I don't know, it's always in the moment. There's never like this applies to everything.
No.
But what does apply to everything is your come from, and your space is the only thing you have any power to kind of look at. But just knowing it's nice. Sometimes there is a need for conversation. Sometimes you sit back.
Yeah.
But trusting that you can find that within yourself.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, what do you think, Dan? Do you know what I mean? We don't have a clue what this.
I mean, if you told us, we might be like, right, we've got big opinions on that.
Who knows? You know, but you know, and it may be that you want to have a conversation. It may be that you in your mind you've got 2 ways to approach this. You know, but is there another way to approach it, or is there another way to approach it? You know, how could you approach it if you did feel like you wanted to have a conversation? How could you approach it? And I think that's one of the things I kind of try and bring to mind. Like, right, if I do feel like I want to have a conversation with somebody, well, where's my come from? Yeah, what is that noise?
Just don't know if it's the monitor.
Don't think it's the monitor. Yeah, what is you know, how could you approach the subject with them? You obviously know this person, you'll probably know how they respond to things. I don't know, but
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have to sort of tailor it to, because this person's a very one of my, like, my probably number 1 best friend, to be honest with you. But I think it's more of a
me, mate. Is it me? What have I done?
I mean, we shared a hug twice on Friday, so if that's what it takes to be your best friend, then I'm all right about that.
Meant a lot, mate. Meant a lot.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I know. I think it's. I think I know what to do. I was just, I don't know. I'm still a bit up in the air about it. Yeah.
Well, like the old saying says, if you don't know what to do, don't do out. Just sit with it.
Yeah, I'll be chill. We'll go with chilled vibes, see what happens, and then go from there.
Mr. Keane, in my mind, is the master of that, being able to just sit on something and just ride it. Like, and yeah, probably better off speaking to Dan One, I think it is, about that, because he seems to be the man that I kind of, he always seems to be able to just sit on things and just master of it. Cool, cheers, Dan. Yeah, don't know the answer to that, mate. But anyway, the principals don't give a crap about any of it. They don't have an opinion on any of it. It's all the principles in action. It's all created from mind. So that was the first part of your question, I think, right at the beginning.
Yeah. It was more of a, do I sit in the now with it and do what I think's right, or do I sit and, yeah. But I think yeah. I think I've made my mind up. I'll I'll keep you updated.
Cool, dude.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Good luck. Anybody else want to say anything about that? Go in. Go in. Go. 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 All right. Anybody else want to take the conversation anywhere? Have you got anything you want to say?
I'd love it if someone did have a direction or
Yeah.
or a question.
Dave, I just wanted to can you hear me?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. You know this like inside out, outside in kind of thing that people talk about, and everything comes from the inside. Everything created from the inside.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like people operating at certain frequencies? Of
You want
like,
listening?
you know, an example. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah. So I was just making some notes as you
So
speak.
it's like, you know, like you can like listening, being in a room on Friday full of love, listening to these conversations and talks, and you can almost like you can feel where people are at, and you showing up in a higher level of frequency, and does that impact others to change just in the way you show up? Because that would be an outside thing. I'm kind of pondering that.
Cool.
I was going to say, I think sometimes this idea of outside and inside, we kind of make it outside of our body kind of thing, like out there, other people, circumstance, and then inside. But the way that I think I've interpreted the use of inside out and outside in is inside truth, outside truth. Are you inside the truth and the wisdom of three principles in terms of how life shows up? Or do you think that there is something that can dictate how you feel? Because the thing is, not everybody in the room the other day had the experience you had. So there has to be something going on to experience that. And I think definitely feel like as consciousness in a being rises, I think we're able to pick up on things in other people, but there has to be mind, thought, consciousness in action to even experience another person. There has to be those principles. Does that make sense? But I know that like I sometimes would feel like I could feel the like people say cut the atmosphere with a knife. You can feel the atmosphere. Like if someone's had a big fight and you walk into the room, you get an experience of it. But some people they can walk in the room, they don't feel anything. So it's still going to be down to an individual's level of consciousness, where they're at in consciousness, to what they pick up on. And I feel like so much information and knowledge is available to us, but we're kind of blinkered and lost in our own stories to see things. And I think as we get open, I feel like we do experience and feel more, but it still comes to us via the three principles. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you say to that?
I like how you opened up in that, inside out, outside in. We have made that an outside thing, but I do like what you're saying about Are you inside of truth or outside of truth? Because you could look at it from the point of view, for example, that, oh, well, the past is inside me, and so it's inside, my memories, they're the things that affect me, they're inside me, yeah, but it's outside of the alignment of truth, the truth being you are living in a thought created reality in the now. You are living in a dream state, consciousness state, frequency state in the eternal now. So being lost in the future or being lost in the past is an inside thing. However, it's outside of the truth of what is real. You're lost, you're outside of the truth. You are either side of the truth. And when it comes to being able to kind of affect one another with our frequencies, yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, we've experienced, there was one lady we went for a walk with, she refused to walk with us again, didn't she? Because we were too high vibe. And bless her, she's probably right. She's probably right. We probably aren't a good match for her, in all honesty, because of where she was at, and she didn't want to be around us. She wanted to be in some kind of, we made her feel uncomfortable. Not that we make her feel uncomfortable, but, she felt uncomfortable in our presence, and that's fair enough. But we are so much more than we could ever imagine. And this conversation's only scratching the surface about who and what we really are. It's interesting that I could, when Ishka was going through her stuff, I went and did this little prayer. I went and sat on this bench. It was my turn to look after her. And I said to Jen, I'm going to go and sit on the bench down there. I'm going to send her a message, because it was really clear to me that the thing that was causing her suffering was she couldn't forgive. She couldn't forgive people. She couldn't forgive adults for fucking up. She couldn't forgive her family members. She couldn't forgive herself, and she couldn't forgive life for being messy. And because of this, she got very, very lost. And so I just went and sat down on this bench, and I do this thing where I just ask Source to open me up a communication line, and then I picture them coming to me, and I hold their hands, and I just held her hands in my mind's eye, and she was healthy and beautiful and fantastic. And I just told her, you need to forgive, love. You need to forgive. You need to forgive. Forgive everyone. Forgive everyone. Set yourself free, love. Set yourself free, and whatever. And then let her go and close down the communication line. And I went into the house, and she was bouncing off the walls. But a couple of days later, we went round there, and Juliet, our friend, was looking after her, and she said a really interesting thing today. I said, oh, what's that? She said, oh, it's the full moon tonight, isn't it? And Juliet said, yeah, well remembered. Yeah, it is. She went, oh, yeah. Juliet said, you can make a wish if you want. And she started ranting. Well, what I don't want is, I don't want this and I don't want that. And Juliet went, stop. That's not the way a wish works. You wish for something you want. And she said, and she went just really quiet. And then she said, well, if that's the case, then I wish for forgiveness. Could say coincidence, you could say chance, maybe. But it was interesting that I had that conversation with her in my mind's eye, and a couple of days later she mentions the word forgiveness. And then she mentioned it again a couple of weeks later in Solstice. When they were letting go of stuff, one of the things she wrote on burnt was the word forgiveness. I want forgiveness. I don't know. I mean,
so the time you told me about when your dad was here, did he say to you, like, we've got to get in the car, there's something wrong with your mum, when your mum had crashed?
Yeah.
But he just knew. Yeah,
my dad, when we were kids, it was snowing. It was snowing outside, and my dad, just before mobile phones, it was in the 80s, we had this old 2 Series Land Rover, and my dad just said, right, get in the car, we got to go. And we got in the Land Rover, and we drove up Rotherheath over the top of the hill where we live, and He just stopped and he went, looked down the banking, and he went, that's our car. So he ran across the road, and Mum wasn't in it. She'd already been taken out and taken home. So we must have passed her on the way. But my dad knew. Yeah, no, we are connected. We're one. We are one being. Humanity is one being. Everything is one being. We're like oceans on a wave. You know, you can't say that one ocean doesn't affect another ocean. However, all the power of the ocean lies in each wave. So we have the capacity of infinite power within each and every single one of us. But it's not outside, it's inside. There is no such thing as outside in. There is no outside. Everything, even the idea of outside in, people go, oh, I'm outside in about that. No, you're not. You're outside in, inside out. It's an idea, it's a concept. Outside in doesn't actually exist. But have we got the capacity to influence one another? I can feel you. Like, I know where you're at most of the time. I'm like, oh,
You make
she's
up content.
fucking
but-
livid with me again. What have I done now? Like, she hasn't got to say anything. You know, and yeah, we feel one another. But no, it's not an outside thing. It's coming from inside us, that awareness. And it's an interaction, it's a play. There's a study in, people are probably aware of this, but your 100th monkey effect. Is there anybody who hasn't heard of the 100th monkey effect? Most people, well, for the viewers who are watching later on, I'll briefly go through the 100th monkey effect if you haven't come across it. The 100th monkey effect was an observation in Japan of the macaque monkey. The tourists would be taken out onto the islands, this archipelago of islands, and they'd throw the macaque monkeys sweet potatoes onto the sand, and the macaque would come along, pick them up, and they'd dust off their potatoes and then eat them. But what they noticed was this, that after one day, what they noticed was one of the younger monkeys picked up its sweet potato, walked down to the sea and washed it. Rather than try to dust off the sand, it washed it. And when he did that, his little mate saw him do it. So another baby one picked up his sweet potato, and these two macaque washed the sweet potatoes. Within a week or so, the troop were washing their sweet potatoes. Within another week or so of that, or a very short period of time, on every single island, which was beyond audible communication, the macaque monkeys, and even onto the mainland of Japan, the macaque monkeys started washing their food items. So, and it happened all at once, and they call it the 100th monkey effect. When enough people or enough beings in whatever species or genus, when they reach a critical mass of awareness, it affects the whole. Okay, that's why the change that's taking place on Earth, that I believe is taking place on Earth, isn't going to take everybody. It doesn't need everybody to wake up. It needs a percentage. And a percentage of people to wake up, which then creates a catastrophic change in the mind of mankind. It makes it much easier for other people to wake up. Why? Because we affect one another, because we're all one being. It's like the Wright brothers beat the French to flight by 2 weeks. We hadn't flown in the whole of human history, as far as we're aware. But the French lost to the Wright brothers flight by 2 weeks. Like, seems to be these tipping points that humanity seems to get to go through together. And it's because we're all connected. So yeah, it is an inside out thing, but there is no outside in, but there is no separation between any of us. And there is so much more to this life that we're just scratching the surface of who and what we are. We're all God. Everything is God. There is nothing that isn't God. What's God capable of? It creates heavens and universes and all kinds of things. Creates every single dimension in existence, every single plane of reality within our being. Everything we experience is ourself. There is no outside of us. We're only ever experiencing ourselves. Everything is God experiencing itself. It's like, well, anything's possible and everything's possible. The only limitation exists within our minds, thoughts. It's the only limitation that exists. everything's frequency. Every single thought you have is a frequency. You feel the frequency of your thinking. Is it in alignment with loving frequency, which would be more akin to who and what God actually is, and ourself and what life itself is? Or is it in duality, fear? Like what frequency are we existing in? And physics knows everything's frequency vibrating at different speeds. Different densities are created by different frequencies, different light frequencies or whatever. It's
There's a cool documentary called I Am. I've mentioned it loads of times, but there's loads of different really cool things within that. The guy who created all of the like Jim Carrey kind of funny movies was had a bike accident, and potentially he didn't know if he was going to live, and he thought, God, if I'm gonna die, what do I want my like legacy to be? So he went and he wanted to make a film about what was wrong with the world and what can we do about it. But he said in the end he ended up making a film about what's right with the world. But there's this one scene where it shows people watching slides, and then they're having their like brain monitored, and then one
that's
of
heart, isn't it?
everything, like all,
Yeah.
like the galvic skin response, everything, I think it's all monitored. And one of the slides is of someone having their eyeball cut. They say that there's a part within our physiology that doesn't see self and other, so we almost experience it as if it's us having that done too. Like there's not the separation even in our physiology. And people who have been placed in a room like under like a clinical like trial kind of, not trial but experiment, observation have been told you're either going to be observed or not, but we're not going to tell you. And then afterwards they did questionnaires to whether or not people got it right, and actually people were quite inaccurate. But the thing that wasn't inaccurate is their body. The body knew every single time whether or not they're being observed or not observed. So we're so limited in what we think is possible, but actually even in our physiology we have an awareness outside of just this that doesn't see the separation. I think it's all in that movie. It's really interesting. I loved watching it.
What's your thoughts, dude?
Yeah, no, that all makes sense to me. I think this I think even when we spoke at the beginning about, well, this thing about ego, and even when we say that, it's almost like we put that as something separate, and when it's all the same thing. I think I'm kind of thinking about like that thing of when people talked about Sid or other people, it's kind of like it's not really what they're saying, but it's a place that they're coming from. And like I feel like you get a sense of that. Or when I've spoke to you before, it's like you kind of, I feel like you can't help but be compelled to almost like try and match someone. I think not like a trying, but when someone's coming from a good place, I feel like you get a sense of that, and things drop away. And yeah, it was just something that were interesting to me. But I was also thinking then about I think like last week we spoke about I suppose like feelings and trying to figure feelings out, and I suppose analyzing feelings, and something came to mind after the call, which was I think it was something I heard on a podcast around. It were a metaphor around trying to figure out feelings, and it was that if you get out of a shower and you dried off, trying to figure out your feelings is like getting back in the shower to dry off. And it's like, I suppose when you're in a higher level of consciousness, you can, I suppose, see it, that it don't make sense to go back and try and figure things out, because it's already a wave that's gone.
Yeah. And I think also, like, if you realize the origin of all experience is yourself, how could you have an experience outside of yourself? And when I'm saying yourself, I don't mean the body. You know, and I've had them out of body experiences. I've been able to see my own body. But you are all
Without a mirror
without a mirror,
or water.
or without water, yeah, or a camera, or a photograph. Yes, Jen. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, you don't. Everything is coming from within. There's no outside of it. So it's like, how could you have an experience outside of yourself? You can see what appears to be outside of yourself, but that experience is taking place within you. You know, the eyes don't look out, they just take in light. That's why when all the lights go out and the sun goes the other side of the earth, you don't get to have the experience of vision, or very limited, because there's a limited amount of light. It's because the eyes take in light, so the experience of sight is just light. Light, and this phenomenal, whatever the hell all this stuff, this technology within the body is, that can decipher the light and create the image that we see that looks like we're looking out. And it's useful, you know, when we're driving, it's useful to be able to see. But sight is an experience. An experience takes place inside of us. It comes from inside of us. You can't have an experience that comes from outside of you. You can have circumstance. Now, circumstance would be something that's taking place. We just had a train derailment in Cumbria, up Shap. I don't know if anybody heard about that today. Landslide, train hit it 80 miles an hour. There's an experience for you. There's a circumstance, sorry. Circumstance. So I was listening to a Scottish lady who briefly on the news describing what happened, and she sounded totally calm about it and just really kind of chipper. You know, but I'm sure there were people who weren't, who've gone home and a bit shaken up. You know, and so you can all go through the same circumstance, but everybody's having a different experience, because the circumstance doesn't create the experience. Experience comes from inside of us. You know, so it's like there's people, this is one of the root causes of the victimhood that exists on planet Earth right now. It's the root cause of suffering, and it's the root cause of war. It's the root cause of greed. It's the root cause of everything that isn't particularly good for society. The belief that circumstance is experience. What I experience is circumstance. No, what you experience is consciousness, whatever consciousness is dreaming up. Circumstance is neutral. The circumstance itself doesn't give off feelings. Car crashes don't give off feelings. Houses don't give off feelings. Money doesn't give off feelings. Doesn't. You know, lack of money or lots of money doesn't give off feelings. That's an entire interpretation from within. It's an experience from within. If you've got 20 quid to your name, are you rich or are you poor? Shut up. Shut up. She's racist. You know, there's been times when I've had 20 quid to my name and I've felt wealthier than when I've got however much in the bank account. You know, when I was a tree surgeon, I was far wealthier than I am now, but I felt really poor. Stop it. Sorry. Poor. Do you want to speak for me?
No, that's fine.
Poor. I felt really poor. But Dan wouldn't understand if I said poor. He'd think it's a thing that you get on your face that you need to clean. Sorry, Dan.
Definitely poor.
Poor. Yeah. Thanks, mate. Speaking to Danny, I love. Racist.
You seem to
Get frigged off when people say poor.
Eh?
Get frigged off when people say poor.
You get frigged off. I love that. Frigged off does not mean the same in around our neck of the woods as what it means to you lot.
Is it not skinned? Skinned.
Skint, aye, that'll do.
That'll
Skint.
do. Surely that's a national thing, not just regional.
Brassic.
Brassic. There we go.
Brassic. We've been having to explain that one. We've been watching Brassic, haven't we? We've been having to explain it many times to Jenny. No, it's pronounced Brassic, not Brassic. Brassic. It means skint.
Never heard of it. I can't hold it in my head.
No.
It means you've got no bra.
Ah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, well, I
You didn't tell me
come to
that.
that conclusion. That's why I just learned something then.
Yeah,
Cheers, Bex.
no problem.
No brass. Brassic. Yeah. But this, you know, this mistaken thing that outside of me, outside of my experience, creates my experience. But when an individual does that U-turn, and that's why the mystics throughout time, that's why Jesus, that's why Buddha, that's why Sid and people who've realized, they go, no, stop looking out there, look within. Stop looking, stop blaming out there and look within, and you'll find the answer. This is a big bloody mesmerizing going onness. It's a distraction. And as long as we're blaming the distraction and being mesmerized by the distraction, and we're not open to the idea that perhaps the distraction isn't the root cause of our experience, we're going to walk through life feeling like a victim. Because I tell you what, it's a dynamic planet and it's a bloody scary place to live when you believe that your experience comes from outside of you. That all your feelings are created by other people's words or what they did or what they're doing. Politics, finances, global affairs, all of this stuff.
Coming across the principles then opened me up to like being interested in all kinds of things outside of the norm, I guess. And like there's so many studies where they showed if people prayed on an area, like crime rates would go down. And there's a lady called Brandon Bays who created something called The Journey, where she works with people and people have healed from all kinds of like physical things, mental things. And one of the things that her group did was envision a leaf changing colour, and it was in a box. And I think someone was in maybe New York, one was in London, and things like that. So there's loads of people kind of starting to experiment with this stuff. Like, what is this stuff? What can we do? So if you're interested, there is so much like alternative kind of views and studies, and people starting to go, what is consciousness? Where is it located? And like the book by Anita Mujani called Dying to Be Me, where she basically said she was going to die, and like she was so riddled with cancer, and then her experience was just she was like, it's funny, people, she's been interviewed and she'll say it wasn't in time and there are no words for it, and people are like, great, now tell us about it. So then she does try and put it into words for us, but within her experience there wasn't such thing as time, and she was aware of her brother being on an aeroplane coming from Singapore. She was aware of conversations, you know, down the hall that she wouldn't have been able to hear with her physical ears. So when she came back,
But she was her brother, that's why, wasn't it?
yeah, but she said it's like, I was my father, I was my brother. Her father had passed already.
I am that.
And she just said there wasn't the separation, and it was it's a fascinating book to read. Like the first few chapters are really more about her history and who she is and why she thinks she kind of created the ego that she created. And she felt like for her, it was because she hadn't been listening to herself and she'd been trying to please people. And then when she then had this experience, she came back a completely different person. But she got information then that about life and about people that it was fascinating. So it's like worth reading. I think that's the beautiful thing. Like if you start aligning with what's true, then I don't know, you get so curious. Like what else? What else is out there? What else is possible? And I think that's the beauty, like the limitations that we've lived under have been created by other people's minds. And then we take it on as true. And like when we were doing healing with Rust at different times and incredible things happened, and then I've known other people to go and have, I don't know what healing is. Why does it work sometimes and not other times? Why do some people seriously feel it and there's heat and it's this, and other people be like, nah, didn't feel anything. Like I don't know that, but I do know that it's all this incredible stuff that happens. And I think that's the nice thing, you just get more and more open. Like for Lucia still at 3 years old, she has to check in with me what's possible and what's not possible. So then I try and be as honest as possible, but then say to her, but I don't know. Like I can't read your mind right now, but I'm not saying other people can't. Like I don't know what's possible for human beings. And I think that's the beauty. Like anything that we limit ourselves with is going to be a wave.
It's like the telepathy tapes, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, they are. I've only listened to about 1.5, but they're brilliant. If you're interested in like mind reading and
Yeah, the mute autistic people that they don't need to communicate audibly because they're already reading your mind. They know what you're thinking. You'd speak to them via mind.
and like meeting their pet. One of them meets their mum in the dreams and has conversations, and then they both then can tell you what happened in those
in the dream.
dreams. Like they meet in the dream world.
Mm.
Like it is a
This-
fascinating
this is-
series.
Scientifically studied,
Yeah,
and they get 100% accuracy. 100, not like 50-50 or 75 or 60%, or erring on the side of this could be something cool. No, they're getting 100% accuracy. So we're phenomenal beings. We're amazing beings. So don't limit it to anything. But just there's something really wonderful that takes place when an individual really realizes the whole of everything exists inside of them. It's an experience. Somehow, as Godel said, somehow I am that I am that I feared. Somehow I am that God. That's what Godel said. Dan.
It's I think it's quite funny that the conversation of what else is out there has come up, because after like seeing everyone on Friday, I had a very sort of eye-opening, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think I've sort of grasped the size of how many people are in touch with the 3 principles. I didn't realize of how much of a large scale it was. And I know that seeing everyone on Friday, it sort of did give me that sort of sense of, well, what else is there if it's touching this many people, to actually realize the gravity of what is the truth. Like, what else is there? What else are we missing to be able to bring to the world? And I think after seeing everyone on Friday, that did really sort of strike me to be like, do you know, it's not just us. Like, it's not just us that have that ability to see. Like, honestly, I thought that like our group of people was not it, but it was more. I didn't think that there was other people locally that knew. And I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's more ignorance. Is it more like, I don't know, it really opened up a whole new sort of thinking for me. So when you said what else, I was like, yeah, do you know what? I get that, because it did sort of make me think like, well, what else is there? Like all these people know, and all these people have experiences through the three principles. Like what else is there? I get it. Like I do get it.
Yeah. Thing is, you can't know what you don't know, mate.
Very
No.
that is true. Very true.
It's impossible to know what you don't know. So, and I think that's one thing that brought a lot of peace to my life, was that like knowing I cannot know what I do not know, and I can't expect other people to know what they don't know. You know, in the eyes of the law, ignorance isn't a valid excuse, but in the eyes of, I don't know, decency and humanity, it has to be, because people can't know what they don't know. It's impossible. So therefore, they're not going to experience it. You know, and yeah, but it is a cool thing, I admit. It is a cool thing that you know, when there is stuff going on in the Northeast, you know, and we're going to try and keep in touch and do a bit more over there, aren't we? And yeah, it's not far for us. It was an hour 20 or something like that, which is next door for us, isn't it? It's you know, and I was saying on Friday, you know, the numbers are growing. There was Jen's one of the first people in the UK to come across the principles. We in the first how many, roughly?
I don't know, because I know that people have been over, like Elsie had done stuff in Devon before, but it didn't really take off. So like years and years ago. And the same like when I went to New Zealand, it was like we were kind of introducing it to New Zealand, but actually Elsie had been out into New Zealand, but it's like it didn't seem like it took off. It wasn't, maybe people weren't ready. But when I first came across it, like it was the first ever train the trainer program in the UK.
When was
with Dr. Roger Mills it started in 2004, and then I joined in 2005. But yeah, like the only thing that we could get was tapes and videos from Lone Pine Publishing, which was in I think it's actually in Salt Spring Island where Sid lived, and they took like 3 months to get to us. There was no I think we did the first with Three Principles Movies. We did the first, like, not a webinar, it's like a telly
summit?
like a telly summit or telly call. So it was so nerve-wracking, this idea that we're going to have loads of people all on one phone call. Like we just didn't understand it. And then
Well, you did that with Three Principles, mate.
yeah, and then we got speakers in from, like, we had Dickon, I think, was our first speaker, and then suddenly there was webinars, and now there's something happening pretty much every week.
Time.
There's always something available. There's Three Principles Global Community, and I think that Dickon was saying the other day they're in 20 different countries, and they've got their own, like there's the Three Principles Global Community, but then each country has its own community of Three Principles kind of stuff going on. There's books that have been translated into all kinds of languages, and I don't know the first thing about who's doing what now.
No, but that
Um,
was my point. It's like you knew everybody in the UK at one point, didn't you? Pretty much.
yeah, mostly.
Yeah. And now you couldn't even, you go to the conference and nobody knows who you are. And because the numbers have just rocketed, you know, and times have moved on, and Three Principles Movie is no longer about. And
I think also a lot of people get really touched by this, and they're around it for a while, and then they just go off and live.
yeah,
So the amount of people that's the case for,
Yeah.
Because sometimes people drop back in after a couple of years and they just say, "Oh, I just wanted a little top up," and that's like, we love that. We love that people find something within themselves and they go off and live. And then we just love the conversation. We love it when people do come along. We love it when people feel like they don't need it, but then but I just think it's unstoppable now.
yeah,
Like we worked with someone for 4 days up here. He was from Brighton. He came with his daughter, and then we just did a follow-up call with him last week. He said, "You're never going to believe it. One of my friends like booked in a time with me. She really wanted to see me. She really wanted to talk to me about this experience she'd had." And then she's chatting away at him, and then she suddenly says Sydney Banks, and he goes like, "What?" So then she, independently of him, has come across the principles and had her own experience. And
he was blown away.
yeah, he was totally blown away. But the amount of times that's happened, and the people have told us about it, it's amazing.
Mm.
And like we found one of Sid's books in a charity shop in Ulverston,
Yeah,
like randomly.
yeah,
So it is, yeah, who knows?
it's growing. And that's what's that saying? The truth doesn't need defending; it just needs setting free. It defends itself, you know. And it's like a lion. It's like a lion. Truth's like a lion. It doesn't need defending. It just needs setting free. It'll defend itself, you know. And it people are ready to. People are ready. You know, more and more people. And I mean, I'd say here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fellas on tonight. And you know,
7, isn't it?
7 including me, yeah. No, these are blokes, you know, blokey blokes, lads. And I kind of use that as a bit of a benchmark for spiritual conversation, because spiritual conversation was always predominantly female. You know, it was predominantly, it was a female thing. You know, you turn up at some spiritual conversation or some spiritual event, you'd be surrounded by women
In I think probably in the Western world.
in the Western world.
Yeah.
Yeah, in like our culture.
Yeah.
But now, you know, you got blokes showing up. So if the blokes are showing up, things must be changing. People must be changing. Society must be changing. Well, the only way society can change is if people change. How do people change? They change from the inside. They change, their minds change. They think differently. They become aware of something more. You know, and when you start getting blokey blokes, fellas showing up and no, not trying to be some spiritual ego, just being themselves, you know, you can pretty safely say that things have shifted in the last, I don't know, 20 years. You know, and it's growing exponentially. This is just one call, isn't it? You know, and there's stuff going, there'll be tons of 3 principle stuff going on tonight.
There's
all
a big
around the world.
conference in Spain at the moment, in Albia.
Yeah, taking
in
place
Viva.
right now. Yeah. It's your auntie, isn't it? And Sheila that do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we went to Viva last year, it was because I'd been to a couple before, but like 2015, 2016, and then we hadn't been. So and then we went to, so like 8 years had passed, and the amount of different, there were familiar faces, but then so many new people, and like a mother with her daughter, or a daughter that's brought a mother, and
Yeah.
like I think that's a nice thing. Often other family members do get interested because they can see that something happens. Like going back to what you were saying, Dan, like people seem to pick up on something from you. Like I say that Lucia is almost like a biofeedback.
Mhm.
Like if you are in a low state of consciousness, she'll match it and some.
Yeah.
But if you stay in a very open, loving space, like she does settle down to that. So I do like, and like my friend who was a teacher said, like the kids seemed to know where he was the moment he like walked through the door. The kids would like know where he was. If he was not in a good space, they would play up before anything even came out of his mouth. So there's all this other stuff going on that we pick up on as human beings that we don't see and don't know about. But definitely, I think with children, it's quite obvious that they can pick up on.
That was
You're
like
right.
with Ishka in Dorset. Like I found that very difficult, like just being shouted at and gobbed at and just generally tidying up continuously and not having any rest and not being able to sleep properly for fear of what's going to happen next. But this one particular morning I woke up and it was like it had left me. All that stress and all that anticipation and all that yesterday had gone. And I was just in this really chilled mood. And I walked downstairs. Woke up, tea-ish? Yes, please. All right, cool. She didn't try and take the teapot off me. It wasn't her teapot. It was like, yeah, use the teapot. I'm like, I can use the teapot. I can use the teapot today. That's nice. Made the cups of tea, gave her a brew. And it was like I was in that beautiful space and she seemed to somehow match it.
Yeah.
But when I was in my usual, oh, for God's sake, what's going to happen today? Me and Kath are in the bad books. You're in the good books. All hell's going to kick off the moment I go downstairs. Like the moment I was in that space, that's what happened. Do you know what I mean? And
But it was interesting because I was pregnant with Lucia, and I generally was in a really peaceful, even that, like despite everything that was going on, it was crazy. I was in a really beautiful, peaceful space, and like she picked up on that, and I was allowed to use the bathroom.
you were the
there.
chosen one.
Like
Yeah.
she would convert. I could use I could just say it's Jenny at the door, whereas you had to say it's David Alexander Ellery. My sister had to be like, we had to use your full name, and but she like, but then when when Lucia was born, like the connection between her and Lucia and Ishka is phenomenal.
It's massive, isn't it?
Like she's the one other person that Lucia will like fall asleep on, and like this, yeah. So
There's a deep
that
connection there.
that whole experience showed us there's so much more to life than what we think.
It was a very it was a very challenging time, but a deeply one I'm really grateful, and I've said this to her, like I'm really grateful for her strength and the capacity of that soul to go through that experience, and for me to learn from her. Like the learning I learned from that girl, I am eternally grateful for it. I mean, now she's awesome. We fought to keep her out of the system. We had to fight. There was one party to stand between her and a bloody NHS worker who was desperate to medicate her. And she didn't want the medication. And I don't know, I got to the point where I had to stand between them and say, no.
Listen to her.
Listen to what she's saying. Leave. Go now. You know, and then you're getting these threats. They were threatening us, and she'll be sectioned and taken away and all this stuff. And we just had to say no.
But also, in the reality of that was that actually there's not beds. There's not.
No.
You have to be pretty severe in terms of real danger to yourself or others to be sectioned.
We're not saying this is what anybody
No.
else should do, but when your niece is saying, I don't want that, you know, and it's somebody you dearly love, you know, and you know who they are beyond all this, what's showing up right now, you know, it was a really challenging time, but it was one where we grew so much through all of that. All of us, the whole family did. Like the learning your sister went through and how she is now on the other side of it. Totally different human being.
Her and her husband.
Her and her husband, yeah. You know, it's so challenging, but the depth of gratitude that I hold for that girl to present that opportunity to learn what we learned, I'm really grateful to her.
I think that goes back to what we're talking about with Dan. Is he Dan 1 or Dan 2?
Dan 2.
Is I don't know what's right. We don't know what's right for her life, and we would not have chosen for her what she's gone through if we'd been given the choice. But seeing who she is and what she's learned and the light of her, I don't know.
Her powers.
I see that life actually knows better than me.
Mm.
Life knows what's better than I do. I think that's quite humbling.
Yeah, I think she was in a family where we know that all experience is temporary. Each of us knows that experience is temporary. We had no idea how it was going to play out, but we know that experience is temporary. It always changes. Everybody's experience is in a constant state of change. And what she was presenting wasn't permanent. So there was so much faith in the family that she will somehow find her way back from this. And I think it comes from, in that instance, forgiveness. I really do. I think it was a forgiveness thing. A lot of it was a forgiveness thing, should I say. And she found her own way back. And she's not the same girl on the other side of it. I can't really explain it. She's powerful. She's a powerful woman. She's a powerful young woman. She has an energy that just blows me away. She's a phenomenal human being. Mad old game of life. It's a mad old game of life. You know, we seem to spend our life trying to run away from all these different experiences, but they never destroy us. You know, each of us can look back at the hardest times, the times you never thought you were going to get through, and yet here you are. They don't destroy us. You know, and the more we can gain an appreciation for that, the more we can relax into life. You know, the more we can understand, you cannot know how the future is going to unfold. You can't know that bit. That's not the bit you get to know. But you do get to make decisions in the now that will line up future possibilities, future timelines. Each decision we make sets off a timeline. It puts you on a different path. You know, and you get to become aware of that, and you get to choose more wisely. But you're not in complete control of this game. Not on the level of the human being. On the level of the soul, yeah. But not on the level of the human being. That gets to play. That it gets to play. And so it's like, but the soul knows it cannot be destroyed. Because it's a spiritual wave. You know, and the more we align ourselves with that inner knowing, that inner awareness, the more we can just go out and live. And the more we just go out and live, the less stress we experience in our life. It actually has the very effect that most people are looking for. Because they're not afraid to live. So many people are so afraid of life. Why? Because they don't understand life. Human beings generally are afraid of what they don't understand. But the more we can align ourselves with what's true about life, what's real and what's illusory, and sort the wheat from the chaff in any given moment, the more peace we experience in our life. There was a lady said to me, she said, I was listening to one of my, put a few little videos out a couple of years ago now, I just walking and filming and talking about something. And I was reminded of this time when this lady said to me, she said, have you lost any faith in the principles since Ishka's psychosis? I said, no. What do you mean? Why would I lose faith in the principles? Well, your niece is in psychosis. And I'm like, yeah, but that's created from the principles. It's created from life. It's created from consciousness. It's created from the power of thought. She's creating a reality that is so alien to mine, but it is an internal experience, just like my experience of her is. It's not, it's, no, it's an irrelevant question. I was really interested just watching the beginning of that talk, because that was what I talked about. But how people generally think of the principles as a therapeutic technique, as a tool, as a means by which to feel better, or a cure, yeah. And it's like, no, it's none of that. The principles are a conversation about how life is experienced. What is the constants within life? What is the non-changing, non-negotiable, non-arguable truths of life? Well, it's that you're an infinite. Infinite why? Because you'll never run out of ideas, concepts, the capacity to create new thoughts. You'll never run out of that. Mankind's never going to run out of thoughts. Infinite mind, awareness, infinite creative awareness, mind, thought, consciousness. That's what we are. We're infinite creative awareness, mind, thought, consciousness. And within that, we can create heaven and hell. We can create and experience any dimension of reality, because they're all within us. John, your hand's up, mate.
Hi.
Hiya, mate.
Okay. Jane. Yeah. I for me, I relate it to Sydney Banks said, if only human beings learn not to be afraid of their experience. And this has kind of been my journey. kind of looking into that a bit more. But for me, that relates to, as the Buddhists would say, impermanence. In that things are always changing, and the only way that we can screw it up, so to speak, is to personally, with the personal mind, argue against that and think that we are the ones in control. So I was looking at my experience today. And thankfully, I was able to go out and go somewhere, even though I still knew the place, but to change my day, I didn't just go to the park I normally go. And I managed to walk to the bus stop, get a bus. And the reason I got the bus was to have a change of experience. To go to a different coffee shop was to have a different experience. To say to some guy that I didn't really know that well, but to make a conversation, because at the back of my head I said, well, you're not going to have a conversation if you don't say something.
Oh, John, you star. I love you.
So, you know, I kind of knew him, but, you know, I didn't know if he remembered. So I had to take that opportunity. And it appeared. And thankfully, we had a beautiful conversation. Because we had similar things, similar experiences of life that around certain things that had happened in life, you know. Thankfully, you know, he was a biker and I used to be a biker, and many other things, and the conversation just flowed. I wasn't there to talk about the principles as such. It was just a conversation. And I came out of that. I went to the shop and another shop, and I walked then down to a little space in the center of town just to have a cigarette. And I noticed the buses were coming and going. And I noticed myself getting really jittery, anxiety, you know, that feeling. And the thought was, I'm getting, oh, what's the name here? You know, now what the fuck do I do? How can I be mindful? Where can I put my attention to take my attention away from what's happening here, you know, because I could feel it. But all I did was recite a mantra. It's one of my own, you know, and just kept, even if it was in my mind, just kept reciting the mantra. And eventually the bus came. I got on another bus, and I went to the park again. And then as I'm sitting in the park, this Christian couple that I've known as this year, as from sitting on that park bench. My name is not Eckhart Tolle, by the way. And because I had conversations with them about Christianity, And I said to them, no, it's Christ said it's all inside. You know, you don't pray to a God outside. You know. But I stayed with them. They stayed with me. They were a lovely couple. Even though I've just, you know, a few conversations in the park. And today was a beautiful conversation because at one point I said to them, what was it? Be in the world, but not of the world. And that meant so much to me. That means so much to me. And then I said to myself as I was walking home, looking back at my experience throughout the day, how it had changed so many times as the day had gone on. And I just wanted to share that with you both and everyone else.
Hey, John,
Thank you.
thank you for sharing that, mate. And I know your good friend Demir's on. Thank you, Demir.
Yeah,
Thank you for the love you've shown
man.
that man.
Yeah.
John has told me about you, Demir.
Hi.
Demir has stood by me. Together we came to the principles together, but
Beautiful.
many years ago, and we're still talking to each other. Thank
I
you.
love that. Good lad, Demir. Well done. Well done, John. John, I love that. I'm really, you made me want to cry just then. I deeply appreciate hearing that story.
Yeah, it's okay to cry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I deeply appreciate that story, buddy. And having spoken to you over the few times over the last few months, like, you know, there was a time you could never have anticipated a day like that.
Yeah.
And yet here you go.
Yeah, you know, sticking, and with Demir's help as well, sticking as best as I can with my experience without the wanting or the wish to change it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, it can be hard, but then I can find a way perhaps to put my attention somewhere else to give me a little break or whatever, and then come back to the experience, dip in and out and in and out, like, you know.
I think one of the biggest fears people have is that there is going to be one form of experience that outplays in their life and overtakes everything to the point where all the experience is suffering. And that doesn't happen. That never happens. That doesn't happen. It's never happened for anyone. There was a lady at the on the conference on Friday. Jen and I were at with Dan and Ange, and she pulled me to one side and she said, you know, I've struggled with depression for all these years. And I said, oh, right, okay. So tell me when was the last time you laughed? So what do you mean? I said, so you're telling me that in all those years you've never smiled or laughed or had a nice time? She went, no, I've had some nice times as well. I said, all right, okay, where's your depression? I said, because you seem to be identifying an awful lot with depression. I said, but where, when you were having your laugh, and I was watching her having a laugh with this lady called Joanne next to her. I said, where's your depression when you're having a laugh? Like, where is it? She went, oh, I don't know. I said, well, because you seem to be really heavily identified with low feelings. I said, but clearly I've watched you have some high feelings because you've been laughing with Joanne. And she was like, I've never thought about that. You know, and she hadn't noticed, John, what you just described just then so beautifully, and such beautiful examples that I think everybody can relate to. You just described how the temporary nature of reality itself is eternal, you know, but the nature of it is temporary. It's always temporary. It's an ever changing, like you so said right at the beginning, you know, the impermanence as spoken of by the Buddhists. Yeah, absolutely, man. And I love the way you spoke about that just then. But this lady had never noticed that. She'd never noticed something as simple as my experience changes. And at the end of the conference, that lady was laughing as she walked past me and she said, "You taught me something today." I said, "Oh, what was that?" She went, "You taught me something." I said, "What was it?" She went, "I don't know." "You taught me something today." And then she gave us some money for, yeah, I don't think she was a lady who had a lot, but she turned around, she went, "Can you give that to your daughter?" and gave us a quid to give to Lucia. Like, no, you give it to her. So she gave it to Lucia, and she just walked out beaming. You know, and what she'd noticed, as far as I could tell, was she'd noticed that her experience isn't permanent. So therefore it can't be her. It can't be what she is, because it changes. You know, and just something as simple as that, you know, allows you to kind of go through the harder times with more grace, because you know it's impermanent. Just that alone, if somebody could just see that, it would change somebody who would be in the psychiatric mental health system. It would change their life. When they realize they're not broken. You're not broken. You're just laughing 40 seconds ago. I saw you. You know, where's you broken when you're laughing? Demir, do you wish to speak to anything? I know you've been around John for a long time.
Thank you very much. I don't wish to speak. I will be in the background and listen.
Cool.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Hey, no, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Does anybody else have anything they want to, like a story or a question, comment?
Question, reflections, observations?
Can I just read something that
Anne's just beat you to it then, mate.
I know.
It was like the
sorry.
Wright brothers and the French all happening again.
I didn't know she were French, but never mind.
Yeah, no, she is, mate.
Oui, je suis français.
Très bien.
Don't cross her when she's speaking French. She gets vicious.
Okay, mate. Thanks for that.
Yeah, just I've learned the hard way.
I was just reading something. I've been listening to this woman called Anandi Sano over the
I
past
hope not during this call.
Hey?
I hope not during. Okay, sorry.
No. I'm looking at this thing and I just think it's lovely. Can I read it? It's only a couple of paragraphs, and it's only little paragraphs. It's as though you had been looking through fog all your life, and suddenly the air clears. Colours become richer, sounds carry a depth you've never noticed. Even the smallest gestures of life, a leaf trembling in the breeze, the warmth of your own hand, the rhythm of breath reveal themselves as extraordinary. The world hasn't changed, you have. And I thought that was like really apt type thing. I just thought it was lovely.
True.
Yeah.
So true. People are running around trying to change the world so they feel better. They're trying to change circumstance because they think circumstance is what creates their experience. But when you change, the world changes. Why? Because the world is within you. I love that, Ange.
Yeah.
Who wrote that? Let's give her props.
Anandi Sano, Anandi, Sano, Sano.
Cool,
I've been
Anandi.
listening to a few other things that she's been doing on YouTube. I just saw that and thought, yeah, I'm going to read that out.
Thanks, Ange. Love it. It was beautiful. Big call.
Yeah, just recently I've been you know, sort of getting quiet, and I've been sort of like basking in the I am, and to sort of reinforce it, I sort of look across the room and I see myself there, the human Colin, and it sort of like brings it home that I'm in, you know, the spiritual world, or in spirit, and I experience it more deeply. There's more love and more joy, and it's as if I'm looking across at the human Colin, and that my spirit has projected that illusion of Colin that will be here for however many years in the human time frame, and it's I don't know, it makes it so much of a more a powerful, if you will, a more integrated experience of I am. And it's well, to me, it's just so powerful that I'm seeing the illusion that is me, and that as Colin the human, and I look outside and I appreciate it's all an illusion. And it's just, I just wanted to share that for you.
Well, Cole, thanks, buddy. Thank you.
And I can't speak French, sorry.
And has that been since you've obviously I know since August you've been in a lot of pain and things.
Yeah, that's what was going to be my question.
Yeah.
There is that, yes, because when I'm sort of, shall we say, basking in the knowledge that I am a spirit being, I know that as a spirit person, I am. There is no pain, and there is no sickness, and there's just love, joy, and all the other good adjectives that go with it. But I sense that being, and yes, in those moments, there is no pain. There's only love and joy, and yet I can look across at the human, and me. You know, it's as if there's a person sat across the room and it's me, but still in those moments of being, there is no sickness, there is no what's the opposite? There's no war. It's just
suffering.
Yeah, exactly. That's the word. Thank you. And say that in French. So yeah, I'm just being, and it's well, it's, as you well know, it's so powerful. That's it. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
We are multi-dimensional beings.
Yeah.
You know, we're experiencing different dimensions of ourselves all the time. All the time. And we're starting to awaken up to other dimensions that have previously been invisible to us. You know, and it's a beautiful gift. Because every time we do that, we start to see, oh, that thing that I think I am, well, that's just a temporary manifestation of myself. And it really helps us to see that clearer. Oh, cheers, Cole.
Were you eating out of cups?
Pot noodle.
Ugh.
But they didn't want to bring it on.
Catherine's made a vegetable soup.
Oh.
I'm trying to get me 5 a day.
Sorry, just been nosy.
Slovenly, isn't it? Slovenly. Tell her from Lancashire. Oh, here we go.
You know, you counted 7 blokes before.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, you were wrong, because on a Monday I identify as Wendy.
Apparently allowed to do that nowadays. Cool. Thanks, Wend. Wendy's in Spain.
Speaking of Viva, isn't
Yeah,
it?
she's speaking in Viva. We miss you, Wendy, if you're watching this in catch up. Anybody else? Cool. All right. Seems like an appropriate place to call it a night. I'm Dave Ellery. This is Jen Ellery. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Love you all. Really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate your support and your questions and everything that's been shared tonight. It's been beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. If you're watching this, wish to make a donation, have a look in the link below. We really, really appreciate it. Oh, that was what I was going to say. The retreat in Norfolk. Do you know anything about it?
Good space. Hang on. I know the dates.
It's coming. We're on it. We had this organised.
No, keep talking. Keep talking.
We're still organised. Bloody hell, how many times do you text each other?
It's all about venues.
It's a nice place. Sorry, everyone.
We'll put it in the description.
You'll put it in the description.
It'll be easier.
Yeah, all right. Well done. Yeah, we're going to put it in the description. Can you tell us the dates?
I think it's roughly around. It'll be the weekend of the 7th and the 8th. So either the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th of February
2026.
in Suffolk, we think. No,
Oh, pardon me. In Suffolk,
Suffolk, Norfolk border.
around Thetford, Neck at Woods. I don't know.
We've been looking at loads of properties in that area to do it.
All right. So yeah, if you got that, just say those dates again, because it sounded very
From about the
complicated.
6th of February for 4 days, or the 7th of February for 4 days.
All right. So if you wish to come, just pencil it in, and we will get more information to you
This week.
this week. Well, that's not
I think
live.
it's going to be this week. Me and Louise were on it.
All right, this week. Right. Loads of love, everyone. Good night. Thank you all for watching, and love you all. God bless.
Good night.
Loads of love, everyone.